Oh,
Dear all, a very good afternoon. I, Arpita Patel, Head Media and Corporate Communication, on behalf of Modern Group of Institution, welcome you all to the webinar titled Post-COVID Economy and Sustainability, Kullhad Economy, with one of the best author, entrepreneur, and TEDx speaker, Mr. Ajay Chaturvedi ji. Before starting the program, I would like to give a brief introduction about our organization. Modern Group of Institution is a leading group of premier institute in Indore affiliated to RGPV Bhopal, DAVV Indore, CBSC New Delhi, and approved by AICTE New Delhi, NCTE, and PCI New Delhi. Modern Group is imparting quality education in the field of pharmacy, management, commerce, and education. We offer more than 8 courses in these fields, which includes B Pharma, M Pharma, D Pharma, BCom, BBA, and B.Ed. Modern Group encompasses two leading pharmaceutical industry, namely Modern Lab and Nandini Medical Laboratories Private Limited. Modern Laboratories was established in 1979 by late Sri P.C. Karya, and Nandini Medical Laboratories was established in 1998. Both gained prestigious acclamation in all India rating of pharma industry. We also have Modern International School, which is established in 2013. We believe in innovation, hence we introduced MP's first pharma incubation center, Modern Incubation Center, in the year 2019. Recently, we have received World Book of Record for making largest image of medication capsule. Also, we are recognizing participating institute of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan in association with IIT Delhi and MHRD, Government of India. The institute also have Modern Innovation Cell, which is an institution innovation cell by MHRD Innovation Cell. Now, I request our Honorable Chairman, Sir, Mr. Anil Khariaji, to welcome our guest.
good afternoon to all. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our speaker, Mr. Ajay Chaturvedi ji. We at Modern Group believe in quality education. As we have two pharmaceutical companies, right now we have the responsibility with us to fight with Corona. In this difficult situation, all are worried for sustainable economy. Therefore, we thought to plan for this webinar, and I think no one better than Ajay Chaturvedi ji will explain in the great way. I, Anil Kharia, Chairman, Modern Group of Institutions, feel honored to welcome Mr. Ajay Chaturvedi ji and all the participants who have joined us for the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, before moving forward, I would like, it is my honor to introduce our guest, that is Mr. Ajay Chaturvedi ji. He is an author, an entrepreneur, and a TEDx speaker. Mr. Ajay Chaturvedi ji is honored by World Economic Forum as a Young India Global Leader. Mr. Ajay is a former city banker, an engineer from BITS Pilani, and a graduate in management of technology from the School of Engineering and the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, and holds a diploma in global leadership and public policy from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Mr. Ajay is an avid golfer, a reader, and an errant traveler. He spent almost a decade in the US and across the world and now lives in Gurgaon. Mr. Ajay has been awarded CNN IBM Youth Icon Award, Leader of the Year 2011. Mr. Ajay's venture Harva Expo entered the Limca Book of Record for being first all-women rural BPO in the world in 2011. His venture has been conferred by many awards, which includes Manthan Chairman Excellence Award 2011, Scotch Financial Inclusion Award, and TIE Entrepreneurial Excellence 2011, among the latest recognition. Also, Harva was identified as the third most innovative company in India by the Fast Magazine of New York, Entrepreneurship, Sustainability, and Empowered Women Award by the Rockefeller Foundation UN 2012. Mr. Ajay has authored the best-selling book Lost Wisdom of the Swastika, published by Times Group, book of Bennett Como and Company. Mr. Ajay was bestowed with Making the World Happening Award 2017 by All Events. On behalf of Modern Group of Institution, I feel honored to welcome you, sir. Now, I request Mr. Ajay to start the introductory talk on post-COVID economy and sustainability, Kullhad economy.
Sure. Um, so first of all, thank you so much. It's a pleasure and honor to address, I believe what you said about 400 odd participants here. I can't see all, but, I think it's definitely a lot of curious people, youth who are, keen to know what the trends are and how things will go. So having said that, I think the world as we know it, is definitely a very different world than what we had expected back in March before the lockdown. And there's lots of things that have happened and are still happening, and we are witnessing it as we are on the news channels and the media, on Facebook, different kinds of outlets that we are seeing. For the past 2 months, the country has been in a lockdown, as have most of the countries across the world. And we are probably the most populous nation after China. So we have been restricted to our homes. What's going on outside is pretty much just a view from our little windows on Facebook, TV, on little that we hear from the other people. If you're able to step out. Now, what's really happened in the past 2 months is that we have lost, and in the process of losing, a lot of the primary supply chains that used to be before very efficiently working. Right? By primary supply chains, I mean the suppliers, the producers who are providing for the basic services. They, for some reason, because of the lockdown, because of lack of travel, have not been able to keep up with the momentum or keep up with the different sort of regulations that have been coming about. And having said that, that's where the opportunity, at the same time the problem lies as well, right? Now the problem is that because of that, the people have sort of cut down on their needs and requirements and things. You probably have noticed it as well that a lot of people who are consuming have cut down on their daily groceries and things like that. I mean, I've seen people posting statuses like they don't eat non-veg anymore, for example. They've really cut down on the meat, on alcohol, on all the sort of luxuries that they used to afford before. It's not a question of affording anymore. It's a question of that it's just not available anymore, right? So ordering in is completely gone out. Takeaway foods have completely gone out. You know, Different kinds of dishes that people used to experiment on before, because of availability of raw materials, is not there anymore. That's one part of the story. The second part is, of course, the excessive shopping that people used to do has also gone down. What we are witnessing globally is, countries in Europe, for example, France, Italy, they've, literally come to a standstill in terms of what they were producing before. So a lot of luxury goods are not being produced anymore, or they're not able to supply anymore, right? Because of the cutting down of the international travel. We've seen, excessive cutting down on travel, on tourism, on restaurants. These kinds of businesses have definitely taken a setback. Now, having said that, that's one part of the story. The second part is you see that a lot of the laborers, the workforce that were working in Delhi, in Mumbai, and the metro cities, for some reason or the other, they've had to leave these cities, right? So we saw this mass exodus from Delhi. We saw this massive sort of a media outrage also on the laborers that were leaving from Mumbai, right? And so having said that, that's something that we will see. So what we are witnessing is a deflation of the cities, and the people are now going out to back to their homes, right? Be it in UP, Bihar, or whichever other states. So with that, the big problem that I think this is what we'll see, is that there'll be an immediate shortage of labor, of workforce in the urban areas, and there'd be an excessive sort of people population that would have grown back up in the areas which people like to call rural areas. I like to call it real India. But that's what I've explained in my book as well, in Lost Within the Swastika. There are different things that sort of encompass and make up an economy. It's not just out of thin air that we make an economy. Economy is driven by culture, and the culture is driven by philosophy. The philosophical roots of that real India is what these people are aware of. Where that comes from, what calendar they're using to drive the economy, what exactly is the lunar calendar. Today, for example, is Chaturdashi. Tomorrow is Purnima. Now, tomorrow is also Grahan, right? Lunar eclipse. It's going to happen in a particular. that knowledge is not necessarily with the urban Indians, as we call it, like, most of the city dwellers, but, the people from, who come from these villages, from real India, they are completely aware of the kind of rituals that they'd be observing, the kind of things that they'd be doing. How is that related to the economy? And how is that, is it possible for us to build and rebuild those primary supply chains to take advantage of these small little pieces of the knowledge that we have, of the wisdom that we have, and convert it into an economic benefit, is what Kullhad economy is all about, right? I'll go more into details when you ask me the questions around specifics, because otherwise it becomes a very, very extensive sort of a end-to-end sort of a talk. So I'll limit myself on the introduction till here.
So my first question is, after that why it is important for us to understand the real India.
Yeah. Sorry, could you repeat that? I just lost you. I think there's like an intermittent. Yeah.
Yeah. Why it is important for us to understand the real India.
Okay. So real India for me is, quite different from what we have been given a picture of in, be it our history books or be it our, the narrative that we've been driven by. When you actually travel out to real India, you'll actually start to see it, right? So from a particular perspective, when people say rural India, you're already thinking, about some village outside. I've not seen it. I've just sort of seen it in a movie. Let's say, in Swades, you saw Shah Rukh Khan come back from the US, used to work with NASA, great scientist, goes to a village in Maharashtra and, starts to develop. Now, that's the view that people have. And I wouldn't be wrong in saying that about 99% of the people don't really know what that India is, right? That's the real India that I'm talking about. Why is it important? Because right now, we are 1/7 of the world population, close to 1/7 of the world population in this country. That's one. Number two, the total percentage of English-speaking population, which we are communicating in right now, the total percentage of people that can communicate in English in India is less than 5%. Okay, इसीलिए जरूरी है कि हम ऐसे लोगों तक भी अपनी बात पहुंचा सके जिनको ये भाषा समझ नहीं आती है, right? So we'll of course work on that. That's for later. Right now, because we are going in this particular narrative, so I'd probably explain these things to you. The second metric is life insurance industry. Life insurance industry in India has been around for over 70 years, but in the 70 years after independence, the total percentage of life insurance industry in India is less than 3%, despite the investments they made in marketing and all kinds of things that the people have been trying to do. Because the large population of India, एक किसान की जमीन की कीमत उसकी जान से ज़्यादा होती है, right? So life insurance for him is sort of unimaginable, right? But at the same time, the total percentage of deodorants that are sold in India is over 30%, right? Now, you'd actually wonder, here, English is not penetrated, life insurance is not, but deodorants definitely, right? Because that's free of any sort of a gimmickry, right? That's targeting something very, very personal to a person, right? You're talking about hygiene, you're talking about attractiveness, you're talking about, their sexual appeal and things like that. Now, when you start to understand that, you'll start to see that this is what is driving the market. But how exactly do you get to that point of the people? Not everything is related to just attractiveness and sexual appeal and things like that. वो बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं which are about need, right? Now, most of the people are only talking about rural marketing. मतलब यार कैसे बेचें उसको, right? And that's where when I started to travel, I started to see the complete hollowness of this narrative. मतलब आप ठीक है बात कर रहे हो बेचें 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 ठीक है, all of the FMCG industry, and I've talked to a lot of the players, everyone is talking about selling to rural India or real India. Now the thing is, FMCG industry, let's take one example. आप मुझे एक प्रोडक्ट, 2 नहीं 3 नहीं 10 नहीं, एक प्रोडक्ट आप मुझे ऐसा नहीं बता सकते जो कि पिछले 10 साल में, 20 साल ले लीजिए, आप 30 साल ले लीजिए, जिसकी साइज बड़ा हो, प्राइस घटा हो और क्वालिटी बढ़ी हो. So increased in size, increased in quality, reduced in price. You can't name a single product because all the products have literally just been boiled down to sachayization of products. मतलब शैम्पू पहले बॉटल में बिकता था, अब सैशे में बिकता है, वो सैशे भी छोटा होता जा रहा है. अब एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स उसको जस्टिफाई कर रहे हैं कि एक जो एक मजदूर है उसको पूरे हर हफ्ते मतलब हर रोज बाल धोने की जरूरत नहीं है. every alternative is also. I mean, eventually you're not fooling the consumer, you're actually fooling yourself. Because आपका जो actual growth है, when you start to plot it in Excel spreadsheet, वो growth तो has been stagnant. एक Maggie when it was launched in India, एक पैकेट मेरे ख्याल से 250 ग्राम का होता था और ₹2.5 का था. आज वही पैकेट 40 ग्राम का है और 12-15 रुपए का ऐसे कुछ, right? So my point is the entire play has only been altering these numbers, and don't take my word for it, you can actually verify it, because आप अगर ध्यान से जाके उसको देखोगे, you will start to see that the narrative completely matches. What is selling is actually for a very different reason. It is not for the reason that the product was made. So फिर every time when people come back and say, we need to educate India, अरे यार, you don't need to educate India, you need to get educated on India. तो जब तक आप उसको समझोगे नहीं, जब तक आप लोगों को समझोगे नहीं, जब तक आप पॉपुलेशन को समझोगे नहीं, तब तक आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते, right? Or again, these are things that I'm saying, and I think numerous other people have said. So, I go back to examples because examples make the perfect sense. There's nothing, no denying. There's not like I feel this way and, somebody else feels different. Kentucky Fried Chicken, for example. Kentucky Fried Chicken came to India about 30 years ago. मतलब नाम में ही चिकन है. तो Kentucky Fried Chicken ने पहले 10 साल कोशिश करी कि भाई लोगों का बिहेवियर चेंज करें. Finally, Kentucky Fried Chicken is selling vegetarian burgers. वो दुनिया में कहीं वेजिटेरियन बर्गर्स नहीं बेचते, लेकिन इंडिया में उनको इसी तरह महाराजा बर्गर्स फॉर मैकडॉनल्ड्स. So the point is that you've learned after 10 years of banging your head. यार आप वो छोड़ दो ना. Don't even look at that. The British colonized India for 250 years. 250 साल और उसके बाद 70 साल की हमारी एजुकेशन है. उसके बाद भी 5.5% से ज्यादा इंग्लिश का अगर पेनिट्रेशन नहीं हुआ है, तो आपको सोचने की जरूरत है कि शायद या तो कंट्री में बहुत बड़ी कुछ खराबी है या आपकी सोच में कुछ खराबी है. No, all I'm trying to do is, and that's exactly what Modi ji also said. He says here, आत्मनिर्भरता. Now, आत्मनिर्भरता, how will it come? आत्मनिर्भर आप तभी होगे ना जब आप अपने आप को और अपनी सराउंडिंग्स को अच्छी तरह समझोगे. उसी के बाद तो आप इकोनॉमिक बूस्ट एंड प्रोग्रेस कर सकते हो. जब तक आप वो नहीं समझ पाओगे, तब तक आप बनाओगे क्या और बेचोगे क्या. So that is why it's very important for us to understand real India. That real India that I'm talking about is not mentioned in the metrics. तो जब आपको कोई UN का सर्वे बताता है कि that average Indian is not able to get 2 square meals, that survey is probably looking at a McDonald's का burger. But I am talking about वो जो गुड़गांव में बैठ के जो सड़क पे आदमी बैठा है, वो एक सत्तू के आटे की रोटी और दाल का पानी पी रहा है. That is nowhere close to a burger. मतलब प्राइस पॉइंट से तो डेफिनेटली नहीं, स्वाद से भी नहीं, लुक एंड फील से भी नहीं, राइट? That's why it's very important, and that is the large population that we're talking about.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really informative. Now, my next question is, how much it is important for education, because we are running an education institutions also. So we are concerned about, to know that how much it is important for an education system to incorporate the subject like rural marketing for the young India, or the subject which have more inclinations toward the rural thing or the real India thing.
देखिए, पहले तो हमारे पास शायद पिछले साल तक या और 5 साल पहले तक सिंस डॉक्टर पुनीत एंड आई गॉट इंट्रोड्यूस्ड, तब तो शायद एक ऑप्शन भी था कि यार ठीक है, हम ये ना भी देखें तो चलेगा. सी आफ्टर लॉकडाउन एंड द वे द वर्ल्ड इज टुडे, ठीक है, इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवल इज नॉट रिज्यूमिंग एनी टाइम सून. तो ट्रांसपोर्ट्स तो आप भूल जाइए, एंड dispatching of goods and things like that, it will take at least a year or so. I'm being very optimistic here. It'll take at least a year for us to normalize things. Matlab, usual surveys have gone to at least till 2022, right? Now, when you start looking at that, and people keep saying हमें employment चाहिए. यार, employment for 1.3 billion people, which is 1/7 of the world population, will not be crystallized out of thin air, right? And where every company in the the Western companies or the companies that have come in, every company is talking about automation, IT, artificial intelligence. On the one hand, you're seeing banks like HDFC have reduced their strength by close to 30-40%. I'm not too sure what the percentage is, but they've drastically reduced their workforce. Most of their banking branches are literally just 5 employees who are just managing the customers, right? They don't have any sort of approval authorities. They don't have any, powers in their hands. Everything is controlled through the headquarters. So in a situation like this, do you think it's valid for an institution like yourself to, start preparing people for jobs? I mean, how many jobs will you be able to create? There's a limit, right? If your primary employers like HDFC and different banks and different FMCG companies are talking about constant innovation based on automation, artificial intelligence, and IT and technology-driven growth, what is the kind of jobs you're looking at? I mean, there is some point in the now or in the future, near future, that we'll start to look at people as becoming producers. When I say producers, that's literally becoming entrepreneurs, or like PM Modi said, Atmanirbhar, right? So if you were to become that, you need to start looking at different primary supply chains. कि आप immediate जो need है वो कैसे fulfill कर सकते हो, right? I can go to n number of things that people are not even looking at today, right? What we had, let's say 20, 30, 40 years ago, वो अब आपको नहीं दिख रहा है. I mean, things as primary as something like, let's say, making paper bags. We as kids actually used to do this for a homeopathic clinic, right? For a doctor who was like a very, very nice old person, and used to do this, run this clinic. तो हमारे घर में हमेशा बोलती थी मम्मी दादी, हमें बताती थी कि भाई आप ये ऐसा करो, ये पुराने जो पेपर्स हैं, ब्राउन पेपर लाओ, छोटे छोटे पैकेट्स बना के आप उनको अंकल को देके आ जाओ, right? For us that was one way, but I'm just looking back at those things. Increasingly, as we talk about sustainability problems, we're talking about being more friendly with nature, using less plastic. That's one smallest opportunity that I can think of. I'm thinking of vegetables. I'm thinking of daily needs. I'm thinking of, whatever you used to have before, we can actually fulfill that, right? With the current geopolitical situation that's going on and the sensitivity around, consuming different products from, different countries, how can we start looking at producing those same things over here is what I'm talking about in terms of that needs to be included in the curriculum. अभी तक जो हमारा curriculum था, that is primarily, I mean, I can say this confidently that, curriculums are adopted because, the HRD ministry has told you that. ठीक है भाई वो चलो. उसकी applicability कितनी है आपको नहीं पता. मतलब forget any other institution. The IIMs for today, for example, whatever they've studied in business strategy courses is really not applicable in the market. मतलब आप फाइनली उसको एम्प्लॉयमेंट कहाँ मिली है, टू सेल अ एफएमसीजी प्रोडक्ट. अब उसको हेलो शैम्पू बेचना है मानेसर में, लेकिन मानेसर का मार्केट ट्यूसडेज को बंद है. अब वो मंगलवार को मार्केट क्यों बंद है उसे नहीं पता. एंड द फनी थिंग इज none of his textbooks explain him that, right? These are very scientific things. मंगलवार को मार्केट क्यों बंद है, अमावस को दूध वाले दूध क्यों नहीं बेचते हैं, मतलब गांव से आपका जो दूध वाला दूध ला रहा था, if you're not buying, mother dairy milk, then why is not coming? You don't know. मतलब आप बड़ी ह्यूमन राइट्स की बात कर रहे हो, बट आपको ये बेसिक चीजें क्या है, क्यों चल रही हैं, नहीं पता, राइट? आई मीन राइट नाउ वी आर एज माइंडलेस as we are saying good morning at 6 p.m. in the evening. Why? Because हमारे जो बॉस है ना न्यूयॉर्क में, वो अभी इस समय गुड मॉर्निंग कर रहे हैं. अरे यार, use some sense. The sun is not out for you right now, so you need to say good evening, and if you're going to bed, then probably good night, right? So that's, I think, the applicability, the understanding of local culture, local rituals, but at the same time it's extremely scientific. That's what I've discovered, right? It's not, none of this is beliefs, none of this is नहीं जी ये इसलिए अच्छा है because हमारे दादाजी ऐसे मानते थे. ये मानना कुछ नहीं है. All of these things are very scientific. The moment we start understanding the science behind it and we use the scientific temper, then we can translate it into an economic benefit. So आज बृहस्पतिवार क्यों है is a scientific thing. I'm not going to disclose that over here today because that's the curiosity, right? Be curious. That is related to the economic benefit, what's coming out today, right? Why मंगलवार को लोग मीट नहीं खाते हैं, नाई के पास बाल नहीं कटाते हैं, and ask anybody, they'll say no sir, हनुमान जी का दिन, इसका दिन. No यार, it's a very scientific reason, trust me. I'll give you a mathematical answer for it. But आपको वो जब पता चलेगा, that's what. But the funny thing is, none of this is available in Google, right? And that's what I'm talking about. So not every answer is there on Google, but the funny thing is that you need to know those questions, what to ask. What you take for granted is where we are standing today. For us to start asking those questions to become Atmanirbhar. वो हम local producers economy कैसे बनाएंगे? How do we get to sustainability? How do we generate livelihoods? How do we get youth to start making businesses which are multi-trillion-dollar businesses that will come out from right where you are, right? Because if you, no matter how hard you try, you can't make a Facebook part 2 अब तो part 2 भी नहीं है, अब तो part 30-40 होगा. You can never make it to $1 billion, $1 trillion company today, right? What Zuckerberg did was in Harvard, sitting in Boston in 2002 winter. हम आज इंडिया में बैठे हैं mid COVID crisis. It's 2020. Things have changed. People have changed. Everything has changed. And so this is where I usually talk about. जब तक आप आपको अपने culture और philosophy से familiar नहीं होंगे, तब तक आप इस चीज को नहीं समझ सकते, right? And that's where it's important to know who am I, where have I come from, where am I going. वो coordinates आपके अपने हैं. That's in not such a short answer, the answer to your question.
Yeah, that was really enlightening about the topic. Now, my next question is, what is Kullhad economy system and how much it is important for today's India, the Atmanirbhar India?
See, Kullhad economy, when, so my book, Lost Wisdom of Swastika, a lot of people ask me, you are a guy, grown up in Dehradun, went to BITS, you studied computer science, अब आप US में रहे हो, अच्छे institutes में गए हो, why are you, defining something like this? And why are you writing a book in swastika? See, over the past 10, 15 years, when I, started going deeper and deeper and started to realize, I ask a basic question. How many kidneys does a human body have? Is this a question in mathematics or is this a question in biology? अब ये हमारे आज के debates हैं. This is none of this is fiction. I'm just giving an example. This is the kind of questions that are being asked today, and the people are giving a very specific answer. So let's say you go to a particular institute in Delhi, right? A very well-known university. You ask people, what question is this from, and they say that of course it's a biology question that could be asked in a biology class. So you do. If it's a biology question, then you need to give me an answer in biology, but you don't. The thing is, it's a okay, it's come back. Well, I don't know where you lost me. How much were you able to hear?
Now you're audible now, sir.
No, but where did you cut off? Where did you? I have to say that again.
When you have started the question, how many kidneys do you have? After that.
Yeah. So how many kidneys? Yeah. So how many kidneys you have is how many kidneys does a human body have? Now, if I ask you, is this a question in biology or is this a question in mathematics? The thing is, whichever subject you choose, you'll have to have inherent knowledge of the other subject as well. अगर आप बोलते हो biology का, you'll need to know mathematics. That's why you can give me a logical answer too. If you say it's a mathematical question, you need to know what a kidney is. जब तक आपको पता नहीं kidney क्या है, तो answer ही नहीं कर सकते. Even then, so these are very nuanced, but at the same time, very deep things to understand. Now, we are at the same point in when it comes to real India. आप कोई एक रिचुअल कर रहे हो, लेकिन आप क्यों कर रहे हो आपको नहीं पता, तो आप बोलते हैं मिथ्या है, ये बिलीफ है. That is where I'm coming. वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आपको समझने के लिए. भाई मंगलवार को लोग बाल क्यों नहीं कटाते? It's a very scientific reason. जो आपका belief है, I'm not talking about the belief. There is no beliefs, zero beliefs. When it comes to economy, things that work because this is how it is structured. अब आपका जो मानना है वो अलग बात है. मतलब again back to the same kind of example. If I have 2 apples and 3 mangoes, my question is how many fruits do I have? उसका आंसर मैथमेटिकल होगा ना. बट आपको नहीं यार इसका ना मानना ये है because ये तो he is from Dehradun, so he is talking about mangoes. Why isn't he talking about pineapples? अरे यार you're going down the wrong track. So let's not talk about beliefs. We are talking about scientific basis of the rituals that are being followed. That's one. Number 2, everything eventually can translate to economic benefit once you understand it. Okay. So Kullhad economy was basically devised by, so after I wrote the book, another very dear friend of mine, he's from London School of Economics, Dr. Ashutosh Khanna, he and I sat down and he said, this is making complete sense because, so he's the head of strategy at International Management Institute. And he said, it's making sense because people today are not really translating this into the actual applications. So most of the kids who are going and studying at MBA aren't able to apply that education to practical things on the ground. Eventually, if all they're becoming is an analyst at the consulting company or becoming a sales rep at a FMCG company, but not able to give the benefits, then what's the point? So fantastic. So then we thought, okay, great. It makes perfect sense to make a business strategy course which is taught to the students, and that's why we made this into a 3-credit 30-hour course that's now approved by AICTE. The reason I thought of the word like Kullhad economy, because Kullhad in my mind is this mud cup. ठीक है, वो मिट्टी से बनता है. जब बारिशें होती है, मिट्टी गीली होती है, जो कुम्हार होता है वो उस मिट्टी को निकालता है, और मुझे पता है कहाँ से लोग लाते हैं, तो मिट्टी को ढाल के एक छोटा सा मतलब बोल बनाता है, कप बनाता है, दिया बनाता है, and he sells it to the tea vendor, for example. Now, tea vendor augments it with a product and sells it to a customer. The customer drinks that and then throws it back. This is essentially creating economic value with no, no wastage, right? So it's created a value and it's gone back to the same earth, right? Now, people are debating any word decompose, that's separate. Let's not bring that in for now. But that's essentially the Kullhad economy. Our biggest problem today, everybody, has been talking about, Greta Thunberg and has really talked about that. What is the sustainability problem? Sustainability problem is not something that we imported from Mars. Sustainability problem is very simple. अगर आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि आपसे 30 किलोमीटर दूर एक गांव जो है, या 40 किलोमीटर या 50 किलोमीटर, जितने भी दूर जो पास का गांव है, वहां पर कौन सी फसल उगाई जा रही है, that's one part of the problem. Most of the people can't tell you that. वो नहीं बता सकते. ठीक है, मान लिया गेहूं उगाया जा रहा है, अच्छा, और आप अपने घर में बैठ के अभी कौन स्टार्च से बना हुआ, कौन फ्लोर से बना हुआ चीज पिज्जा खा रहे हैं. That's the sustainability problem, right? Because जो प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है वो कंज्यूम नहीं हो रहा है, और वो फिर वो बेचारा फार्मर किसी को प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेच पा रहा अपना, मतलब what he's grown and he's dying. Our agriculture crisis is not an agrarian crisis, it's a supply chain crisis. तो जो आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो उसको अगर बेच नहीं पा रहे हो, that's where your sustainability problem is. That's one part of the wastage. Second part is, अब आप excessive plastic use करके किसी और चीज कर रहे हो, plastic waste हो रहा है, and the product also is not being used. That is where the whole idea of Kullhad economy comes in. So Kullhad economy, that subject is based on these principles, which we take step by step through with the students. A classic, Philip Kotler marketing book starts off with assumptions that are not necessarily all of them applicable on the ground, right? So we are talking about like the fundamental, foundational principles that are inherent in our thinking, but we're not using them. I'll give you an example. If you have to go from wherever you are in Indore, आप अभी जहाँ पर बैठे हो at Modern Institute, and you have to go from there to, let's say, the airport, what's the first thing you do? You'll pull out the Google Maps, और Google Maps से आप enter करोगे, right? Some data. That data is basically where you are. तो आप अपने घर का address डालोगे, or institute address. You'll put the airport address, and then you put what mode are you taking. तो मतलब आप पैदल जा रहे हो, घोड़े पे जा रहे हो, गाड़ी में जा रहे हो, साइकिल पे जा रहे हो, all those options. Now this is essentially, अगर आप भगवद गीता पढ़ो, the final essence of Bhagavad Gita, what Bhagavad Gita wants you to ask yourself is, मैं कौन हूँ, मैं कहाँ से आया हूँ, मुझे कहाँ जाना है. The who am I, where have I come from, where am I going, essentially the 3 exact same questions, whether it's Baba Google or Bhagavad Gita. So all we are translating for the students is things that we know already, but look, you're not applying it. So far people have said, नहीं यार वो तो अलग है, भगवद गीता अलग है. मैं यही बता रहा हूँ कि भाई वो अलग नहीं है, जो आपको पता है वो आप अप्लाई करो. So we are giving them applied knowledge, and the ways they can apply that knowledge, the way they can extract that knowledge to put it to work. That's what you're doing. So यार Google अगर use कर सकता है, I'm not saying that Google read Bhagavad Gita and did that, but see, inherently this is how we are. We're only program. I mean, I'm giving you a very, very practical example. If Google Maps asks you any other third or fourth question, I'd like raise my hands, but it's not. It's asking the same exact 3 questions, because that is essentially how we are structured. That's how we are. All I'm saying is, when you start to understand वो जो basic economic building blocks हैं, उसको आप अगर समझ गए, उसके बाद ही तो उसको build कर सकते हो ना. वो building blocks जो इंडिया में हैं, अगर आपके 70 साल की एजुकेशन के बाद और 250 साल ब्रिटिश कॉलोनाइजेशन के बाद अभी भी 5% से कम हिंदुस्तान में लोग अंग्रेजी बोल सकते हैं, तो इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है ना कि बाकी के 95% बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. वो बात कर रहे हैं, उनकी भी लाइवलीहुड चल रही है, उनकी भी जिंदगी अभी तक चल रही है. Again, you might not have launched like a $1 billion company, but that's only possible once you start understanding. That's where we are coming. So वो कुल्हड़ economy, आत्मनिर्भरता, what Modi ji is talking about, is more than ever applicable today, especially with COVID, especially post-COVID crisis. अब तो मतलब पहले तो शायद आप शौकिया तौर पे करते, अब तो it's a necessity. तो हम कह रहे हैं भी आपको बता सकते हैं, because that's what I'm doing, that's why I'm here. I am so passionately involved in this because I think जब तक हम लोग खुद नहीं जाएंगे तब तक वो सोना कौन निकालेगा? वो सोना गड़ा हुआ है, उसको निकालना है, लोग चाहिए. That's why we are.
So that is amazing about the Kullhad economy, and it is so fascinating, and it is so on very practical grounds. We have to think about the real structure of the economy or supply chain.
Yeah.
So how a common person can get benefited in each and every business, and in each and every area. How a common people will get benefited out of it.
See, the politicians understand it really well, but they don't necessarily tell you how. And that's been my problem. मतलब ये अभी की problem नहीं है, मेरे ख्याल से आगे भी बड़ी problems होने वाली हैं. And most of the youth have the same problem. I had the same problems. I know for a fact. हर कोई आपको बोलता है क्या करना है, लेकिन कोई आपको ये नहीं बताता कैसे करना है. That's half the problem, right? The other half the problem after that is कैसे करना है, उसके बाद उसके tools और techniques और जो चीजें चाहिए आपको वो नहीं मिलती हैं. So Indore में ही, one of the institutes that we actually launched this program, we had a few people that at Prestige Institute, we launched this, and we had a few students who had gone out. So हमने अलग-अलग first stage of the fellowship that we have, Kautilya Fellowship, इसमें we send students through 4 stages, 4 broad stages. तो पहला जो stage होता है वो wild safari है, जहाँ पर आप जाके explore करते हो अलग-अलग businesses. So we let the students do that. Now they actually went out and they launched and discovered very, very different businesses that they had not even heard of. So midway through this wild safari, I got a call from few students. हम लोग उनको 3-3, 4-4 के groups में भेजते हैं. They all went, so they have fun, and it's like really about learning, right? So until you have fun, you're not learning. So we genuinely believe that they have to have fun. So they actually discovered this person who was making dolls. तो उसने बताया, कॉल करके बोलते हैं, सर यहाँ हमें एक village है, वहाँ पर एक dolls बनाते हैं, and he makes very nice dolls, and he's employing all women. मतलब वहाँ जो अपाहिज महिलाएं हैं, विधवा हैं, इस तरीके से हैं, उनको employ भी कर रहा था. About 20 of them are employed there, and he's making those dolls. And the funny thing is, the dolls are really nice. I said, that's great. और सर लेकिन इनके पास ना फंडिंग नहीं है अभी. मैंने कहा हाँ यार, that's a very sad thing, but how does he get funding? He says, but what you don't know is इनके पास पद्म भूषण भी है. So he's got a Padma Shri or a Padma, I think he's a Padma Shri holder as well. The funny thing after this is that even though he has that, but he is not able to secure funding because that bank does not identify with that model. So what we need is to be able to make these businesses capable of raising funding in the right way. That's one. Help them productize the product that they are making, right? Because see, no kid is born with a preference towards a Barbie doll. You can give them any toy, but वो toy को आपने किस तरीके से, कितना usable, कितना friendly, कितनी quality, ये सब चीजें इसमें कितनी, how much importance has gone into it is what defines the success of a product. And that is where I think fundamentally we are thinking in a Kullhad economy. If you can productize the product well, if you can brand the product to suit a person's need, and if you can get the funding for the entrepreneur to be able to scale this, other 3 basic things, of course the funding comes before all these things, is when we are able to scale those businesses. I'll give you a practical example. हल्दी दूध हमने सबने बचपन से पिया है, लेकिन Starbucks ने उसको productize किया, and they call it turmeric latte. Now turmeric latte sells for about $6 or $10, some crazy figure like that. My point is, why couldn't we have done it, right? जो जितने products बना रहे हैं हम, जैसे योगी आदित्यनाथ in UP, they've launched this program called One District One Product. अब वो One District One Product तो ठीक है, but आप उसको launch कैसे कर रहे हो is what people have missed the point on, right? I mean, ठीक है, आपने product बनाया, आप चारपाई बना रहे हो, अरे चारपाई को आप brand कैसे करोगे, आप उसकी product qualities कैसे दिखाओगे? Because so far our economy has been primarily what people would like to call as jugaad economy. Jugaad economy and Kullhad economy are complete opposites. Jugaad economy is finding a solution to a problem which is cheapest, very quick, and immediately launchable. Kullhad economy is about finding a sustainable, durable, brandable, and scalable solution. And cost is definitely not one of the things that we're looking at, right? So you invest time, invest money, and then scale the product. That is where we are focused on. If we can create even 10 companies, 10 products out of this, I think we'll be a success. That is where Kullhad economy is. Or when I say 10, does not mean 100 other people can't sell the same product. That is what we really need today. तो आप जो छोटी से छोटी चीजें इंपोर्ट कर रहे हो, जो आप अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी, मतलब you talk about Sundar Pichai is the CEO of Google and Satya Nadella of Microsoft. But if you're not able to tell me that we've made an innovation in India, be it a technology innovation, be it a consumer FMCG innovation, till that time, I'm not convinced. And that is where we are trying to hit in Kullhad economy.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very informative. And my other question is, after this COVID pandemic period, how
Yeah.
one should think about or work upon about the sustainable economy?
See, sustainable economy is the same thing, right? So that's what I'm coming to. Now, today, take a basic example. We've just read some trends and I've been watching it. A lot of people have started planting indoor plants in their homes. They started to grow vegetables in their homes. They started to do things around, what they were not doing before. अब वो सब चीजें घर में करने लगे हैं. So मैं बोल रहा हूँ इसलिए नहीं, but this is how things are panning out. So जैसे जैसे लोग इसका behavior changes don't happen because there's an advertisement happening. See, advertisements have tried to change our behavior for a long time, but अभी तक वो कर नहीं पाए. I mean, Maggie was launched as Maggie 30 years ago, but today Maggie is no longer the Maggie that was launched. Maggie today is literally दाल चावल. हाँ ठीक है, आप उसको पैकेट में लाते हो, 2 मिनट में कोई मैगी नहीं बनी. मैंने जिंदगी भर में 2 मिनट में आज तक मैगी नूडल्स नहीं बनाया, right? So it is literally that. When you're talking about sustainable economy, you're literally talking about something as the evolution of a Maggie. Ab, dekho, you'll have to cater to people's needs. That's what you have to do. People's behaviors are changing automatically because of the COVID crisis. So lockdown, you can't change much. You can't do much. Okay, great. How do you innovate the products around where they currently are is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to give ideas here because this is a webinar, right? This is what we teach. This is what we are talking about in Kullhad economy. But मैंने आपको बहुत broad examples दिए हैं, so it gets you curious. I mean, लोग बोलते हैं critical thinking, but critical thinking जब वो बोलते हैं, they typically talk about, sir, हमने Excel spreadsheet देखी, जो हमारा presentation है, that in that Excel spreadsheet has this, and I'm thinking critically. Critical thinking is about thinking on the roots. Why are you doing things? What makes sense to you? Why does a Purnima make sense to you tomorrow? What are the rituals being followed on a Grahan? People would call people regressive if somebody said, यार अगर चंद्र ग्रहण है तो आप अंदर ही रहिएगा, बाहर मत जाइएगा. After I started understanding the science behind it, it makes complete sense. You don't call something morning because it's 9 a.m. in your clock. It's morning because sun is out. Until that's what tuning into nature is, right? You don't connect with nature by your Facebook app. You don't connect to nature with a USB cable. You connect to nature by understanding what those the points of nature are. That points of nature for us is Surya, which is sun, Chandrama, the moon, and Prithvi, earth, right? So Trigunatmak Prakriti. 3 गुणों की प्रकृति है ना, वो 3 गुण यही है, सूर्य, चंद्रमा और पृथ्वी. इसीलिए रजोगुण, तमोगुण और सतोगुण. I mean, until you start to understand, ये 3 गुण हैं, तभी आपके plug point में 3 points हैं, positive, negative, and earth. People might not immediately understand it, but 4 अवस्थाएं हैं और त्रिगुणात्मक प्रकृति है. तो 4 अवस्थाएं क्या है? आंतरिक, मांत्रिक, तांत्रिक, यांत्रिक. तो यांत्रिक अवस्था में जो 3 गुण हैं, वो आपके plug point में 3 हैं, positive, negative, and earth. जो मांत्रिक और तांत्रिक और आंतरिक हैं, उसके 3 गुण कौन है? सूर्य, चंद्रमा और पृथ्वी. That's the reason why you take off your shoes when you go into a temple. You're connecting to earth. It is not out of respect. It is not out of pollution. वो सब, if anybody is giving you that idea, reason, then they don't understand what it is. अगर respect से है, तो भाई ठीक है, अगली बार आपने parents से मिलते हो, grandparents से मिलते हो, जूते उतार दो, आप तो नहीं उतारते. That means you don't respect your grandparents. That's not true. If you're so bothered about pollution, you should take off your shoes when you enter office, but you don't take off. So, people don't understand. जो वो लोग 99% of the people, what they believe are absolute useless. I'm talking about pure understanding, which is what we're trying to do here in Kullhad economy. तो वो जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी की प्रॉब्लम बता रहे हो, इन इकोनॉमिक सस्टेनेबिलिटी, that can be possible when you start understanding what you're doing and then you start to cater the products around it. See, people will fall into line. जो population है, majority of it is going to be buyers. तो ठीक है, जो innovators हैं जो आपके इंस्टीट्यूट से आ रहे हैं, उनको तो समझ में आना चाहिए करना क्या है. अब उनमें से अगर हम 2%, 3% को भी ये सक्सेस बना सकते हैं, that's all we're looking for, because everything else will fall in line, right? Then there'll be me tools, you know. So Facebook has come out now, somebody is saying I'm innovating Facebook for Bihar. ठीक है, कर ले, but Facebook was the real innovation, right? That is what we're talking about. So sustainability in economy will come when you start to understand people's real needs. जब आप लोगों की असली जरूरत समझ गए, तब आप उसकी असली जरूरत को cater भी कर सकते हो. अब आप उसकी जरूरत ही नहीं समझे, which is what I gave you the example of FMCG. FMCG is trying to sell you something without really understanding your needs. 30 साल पहले Colgate ने लॉन्च किया, भाई ठीक है, कोयला भी बर्बाद है, सरसों का तेल भी बर्बाद है, नमक भी बर्बाद है. अब Colgate is selling with कोयला, with सरसों का तेल, with नमक. अब Colgate has come out with वेद शक्ति also. ठीक है, और दूसरी तरफ आपके कुछ कॉलर्स हैं जो दिल्ली में बैठे, वो कह रही जी Vedas are bullshit. So I don't know where to really make a balance. Look, you've already accepted, and we are giving you practical examples. Scientific proof is about प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण. अगर आप 2 + 2 = 4 मेरे सामने करके नहीं दिखा सकते हो, and you have to refer to some Max Muller and Macaulay, then I'm sorry, you've lost the battle already, which is what the case is today, right? We are talking about practical examples. That practical example is, look, this is 2, this is 2, 2 + 2 = 4. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, 2 divided by 2 = 1. जब तक मैं practically करके नहीं दिखा सकता हूँ, I have no right to call myself a scientific thinker. And I'm talking about scientific temperament, right? That's where sustainability will come from. Sustainability is not, some esoteric thing that, we come and, okay, this is sustainable. Sustainable is something very simple. 20 किलोमीटर दूर अगर एक किसान सरसों उगा रहा है और आप यहाँ सरसों का तेल खा रहे हो, that is a sustainable cycle. If he's growing सरसों and you're eating olive oil, that is not sustainable, right? That's and different narratives are driven. Now, a year ago things were different. Year ago we were talking about globalization and economy and boosting and everything. That's good. That's possible. वो करेंगे आगे चल के. But अभी immediate crisis with COVID, with the lockdowns, with primary supply chains being broken, this is a huge problem. But at the same time, a massive opportunity for our youth to gear up, buckle down, and start to innovate on the local innovations. Start to find the local base. मतलब दुनिया की कंपनीज इंडिया को देख रहे हैं मार्केट की तरह, और जो हमारे यहाँ लोग हैं वो युवा देख रहे हैं एम्प्लॉयमेंट. अरे यार, this is where the innovation comes in, and that is what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really wonderful, and I hope everyone, now get curious कि मंगलवार को बाल क्यों नहीं कटवाते हैं. So everybody will find out the answer for the same.
So मंगलवार को बाल क्यों नहीं कटवाते और मीट क्यों नहीं खाते हैं कुछ लोग?
Yes.
If they have answer, but I want scientific answers. If you can't give me a mathematical answer, I'm not looking. Please don't give me answers like because yesterday was Monday, tomorrow is Wednesday. ये नहीं answer. It's a scientific answer, and it's mathematical. So I'll give the textual proof for it. But fortunately, it's not on Google. So great.
So I will definitely call you for the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful session. It was very informative, and I think everybody now have the question mark why everything is happening around us. So that is the main point which we have to encourage the students, the entrepreneur to ask why it is happening and how we are going to make it sustainable. So that session was very wonderful, sir.
And that's right. That's what we're trying also in Kullhad economy. Not only do we give them questions, but we also help them find the answers. And when they are finally not able to, we give them the answers. But that's essentially where we are.
Yes, sir. Now I request our group director, sir, Dr. Puneet Kumar Dwivedi, to propose a word of thanks to Mr. Chaturvedi ji.
There are many questions are coming here in QA. That please sir tell something about why we are not going to करना क्यों नहीं मंडे को और ट्यूसडे को क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है, सब लोग पूछ रहे हैं. मैडम मैं चाहूंगा कि कुछ क्वेश्चंस आप यहाँ से भी ले लीजिए.
जी सर.
QA से जो आया है वहां से कुछ क्वेश्चन सर के लिए बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग आए, आई हैव सीन. तो वहां से कुछ
I can answer those questions.
रिचुअल्स
बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चंस हैं.
रिचुअल्स के रीजंस के पीछे एक बुक भी आप निकाल सकते हो.
हाँ.
वो तो वही मैं कर रहा हूँ. जैसे हमारे जो त्योहार हैं वो क्यों मनाए, जितने भी त्योहार हिंदुस्तान में मनाए जाते हैं वो सारे साइंटिफिक हैं. सब एक एक त्योहार साइंटिफिक है. उसका बहुत बड़ा रीजन है. वो लोग समझना नहीं चाहते. इसलिए भाई सी, इफ आई वर टू कॉन्कर समथिंग, तो सबसे पहली चीज मैं क्या करूंगा, आपको जो भी आप मानते हो उसको मैं मिथ्या बताऊंगा. तो आपने मिथ्या बोल दिया, उसके बाद मतलब ये क्वेश्चन जो मैंने बोला ना, हाउ मेनी किडनीज डज माय ह्यूमन बॉडी हैव, if you didn't want to study mathematics and you demonized mathematics, आपने कहा जी मैथमेटिक्स तो सब बकवास है, ये तो मानने वाली बातें हैं, 1 2 3 कुछ नहीं होता, आप सब भूल जाओ. Then how many kidneys does a human body have is a mythical question, क्योंकि आप बोलोगे सर ठीक ठाक है, मतलब दो तो आपको पता ही नहीं है, 2 3 4 नंबर तो पता नहीं, तो आप क्या बोलोगे, वही बोलोगे. That's exactly what we are. तो जब तक आप वो नहीं समझे हो तब तक वो बता नहीं सकते. और those are the festivals that make absolute sense.
The one question that Naresh Tanguru have asked, that how malls can sustain post-COVID. Will online shopping malls completely ruin the business of malls? This is the question.
Mom.
मैडम.
Yes, sir. Sir has been, sir is doing something.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. How malls can sustain, you were asking?
Yeah, the question is from Naresh Tanguru, that sir, how malls can sustain post-COVID. Will the online shopping can completely ruin the business of malls?
So, you know, the 1 second is suddenly very low on battery, so I'm just going to plug in my charger.
सर सुन पा रहे हैं क्या? हेलो.
हाँ. अरे नहीं, मेरा, you know, my phone is down on the battery, so I wanted to just pick up this and talk to you on the again my phone. See, malls again. This is where the because of the phone. Yeah. The sustainability of the malls will depend a lot on how friendly they can become to the local economic producers. See, जब आप produce वैसी करने लगोगे ना, that is when the malls. So immediate sustainability of malls is very low, right? Because there's not rocket science. Because आपके सामने दिख रहा है भी प्राइमरी सप्लाई चेन्स डिस्टर्ब हो चुकी हैं, इंटरनेशनल सप्लाई चेन से अभी प्रोडक्ट्स आ नहीं रहे हैं, तो मॉल्स में जब प्रोडक्ट्स ही नहीं होंगे तो लोग क्या करेंगे, राइट? और जब लोग नहीं आएंगे तो प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेचेगा, इसलिए रेवेन्यूज नहीं आएंगे. यू नो, मॉल्स टुडे आई डोंट सी अ वेरी होपफुल पिक्चर इन द एटलीस्ट वेरी नियर फ्यूचर. मतलब 2-3-4 महीने तक तो आप बिल्कुल उसको लो लेके समझो, until they have some, you know, old produce which they are trying to sell, right? The second piece is with social distancing and, you know, crowded pieces not happening, I don't think that will be a huge possibility. But I believe if you could lower your costs, the operating and the running costs could be lowered, right? Which of course would mean in terms of infrastructure, air conditioning, things like that, because, you know, it has to be friendly. And if you could start acquiring and helping local producers, you will start to see a lot of changes. The new agricultural, you know, with the deregulation, the farmers being able to say, now, can you possibly come out with, and that's what you're talking in Kullhad as well, क्या आप इन local producers को इस तरीके से support कर सकते हैं that they are able to productize their produce well, brand their produce well, and, you know, fund it well to be able to scale it. That's what we've talked about. I mean, I've, you know, talked at several different fora with, you know, incubators and things like that, of services, of products, which can be now, instead of being sold in different markets, could they be sold through the malls, right? That's one of the possibilities, because today it's a point where the usual mall that you had, which, you know, let's say had a Gucci outlet and which was selling only, you know, Nike shoes, that is not sustainable. available today. भाई वो international supply chains ही नहीं आ रही ना, unless the product was being manufactured right here in Agra, और वो आगरा से यहीं पर आ रहा था, तो वो branding भी नहीं हो रही थी, तो यार ठीक है, उसी quality को अगर आप यहाँ पर कर सकते हैं with a different branding, so that's your solution, right? That's where we need to find out as well, right? And I'm not saying this out of vengeance, out of vendetta, out of things कि नहीं जी हम स्वदेशी, देखो स्वदेशी तो अपने आप हो जाएगा, आपको करना ही पड़ेगा, मतलब वो बोलते हैं ना डूबते को तिनके का सहारा, नहीं रखता, खुद तो तैरो यार. So right now this is what we have to do. When Modi ji says Atmanirbhar Bano, that's essentially what he's talking about as well. If we can identify fulfilling our basic needs from the surrounding areas, which is what the mall needs to do, which is what we need to do, which is what everyone else needs to do. आप अभी fly करके बॉम्बे तक तो जा नहीं सकते, तो आप दूर की बातें तो भूल जाओ. So the local malls will be the best for us. Fantastic. Can there be ways in which we can connect the local malls to the local producers? Can we make the local producers produce better products? देखो अभी सबसे बड़ी problem इंडिया में मुझे अभी तक जो जितनी दिखी है, India is not all hunky dory, मतलब हाँ जी philosophy बहुत अच्छी है हमारा, ये अच्छा, मैं नहीं कहता, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो missing है हमारे products में. Quality has been the biggest problem, right? Because after a point people say ठीक है चलता है, वो चलता है attitude को निकालना पड़ेगा. We will need to focus extensively, excessively, and overwhelmingly on the quality of the products. तो हम अगर इसको producers को quality में, productization में, financing में support कर सकते हैं, and then we can connect these people to the malls, I think there's a massive possibility for us to make it a success. And I'm not restricting to one kind of industry. I'm giving an example of farmers and producers, but I'm talking about anything. मेरी किसी की shoe factory थी, that production is halted. Fantastic. Can he re-gear that to start selling here? Maybe at a slightly lower price point, maybe at a slightly lower, different product range. Things like that, I think we'll have to start to work on.
There are so many questions. I will ask only, this will be the last question for this session. What is the role of very small domestic industries like matchbox making, agarbatti, candle, etc. in Kullhad economy? This is asked by Dr. Chetan Joshi.
This is all a part of Kullhad economy, except the only thing we are focusing on Kullhad economy, especially when it comes to this kind of a brand, is quality. वो quality पे जहाँ हमने compromise किया ना, is when we lose it. This is what insurance. I mean, I can give you numerous examples. Insurance और इसका तो मैं English का तो बात कर रहा हूँ. People think that selling cheap will make them scale the business. Sorry, that is not going to work, because people, after they understand quality, it's really good example that you quoted, because we light agarbatti every day in our homes, और वो जो अगरबत्ती जहाँ से आती है, I mean we know the quality immediately. वो तो अगरबत्ती के साथ अगरबत्तियां मान लिया 50 हैं, उसके मैच बॉक्स में तिलियां होंगी 20. आप खुद ही सोचो ना, मतलब यार 50 अगरबत्तियां, 50 तो कम से कम आप रखो. That's the minimum thinking of a quality and a consumer. मतलब कंज्यूमर को क्या चाहिए, तो अच्छा ठीक है हमने 50 अगरबत्तियां दी, 20 मैच बॉक्स की लाइट्स दी, वो माचिस की तिलियां आप जलाओगे वो जलते ही बुझ जाएगी, या जला के मतलब लाइट्स अप सो फास्ट you're not even able to light the अगरबत्ती. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट अ बेसिक कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस. वो कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस अगर आप दिमाग में रख के और फिर प्रोडक्ट बनाओगे, you can sell the product for at least 20-30% higher price, and the product will have a good recall value when people will say यार हमने अगरबत्ती वाली यूज करी थी, और typically we buy something, अगर वो खराब प्रोडक्ट होता है कि जी हमने ये वाले से ली थी और चंदन वाली अगरबत्ती, वो तो चंदन की तो बिल्कुल नहीं, कोयले से बनती है वो, right? I will be the first to tell you the bad product review. So you actually killed your own market. So Kullhad economy actually is very, very focused on this. After the thing opens up completely, you have a lot of focus on, let's say, temples, on pujas, on rituals, on people who are doing different things. That will be of primary importance, because अगर आप उस चीज को demand meet कर सकते हो, I think there's a huge opportunity, and that is one of the primary building blocks of Kullhad economy. So agarbattis, biscuits, matchbox factories, the massive demand right now, which will erupt, of paper plates, of leaf plates. और जो पत्तल जो हम लोग घर पे पहले 20 साल पहले यूज करते थे मंदिरों में, that पत्तल you make it a better quality. भाई वहां तो केवल मार्केट से आते थे, वो उस पत्ते में जो है काड़ियों से वो बुने होते थे. Forget that, no, make it a really good one. I mean, Germany, some people have innovated, that's a reusable sort of a plate. So fantastic. Can we not do that? I think where we are trying to focus on is quality, customer experience, then comes the price point. वो price point can be 20% higher, but don't ever compromise. This is where Kullhad economy is completely different from जुगाड़ economy. जुगाड़ economy यार चलता है करता है और मतलब सस्ते में बेच दो. We are talking about नहीं यार, price point can be slightly higher, but focus on quality and customer experience. एक बार वो ठीक होगा, you will be able to really scale the product or the services that you're providing much better than we have been able to in the past.
Thank you so much, sir. So I request all the panel, all the members, those who have participated, to fill up the feedback form after this session, and you will receive the e-certificate for this webinar within 7 working days from the date of the webinar. So next, I would like to thank you so much, sir, for such an informative webinar and such a great illustration of how the real India should work and what is the actual meaning of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I now request our group director, sir, to propose the word of thanks to Ajay Chaturvedi ji.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for the very enlightening session. और मेरा तो सौभाग्य है कि मैं आपको कई बार सुन चुका हूँ. एंड लास्ट स्वास्थ्यिका भी मैंने पढ़ी है और आपके द्वारा जो मुझे मिली थी, और बड़ी अच्छी पुस्तक है कुल्हड़ इकोनॉमी, वहां से मुझे समझ में आया था. और उस समय पुस्तक पढ़ने के बाद अब लगा है लॉकडाउन, ये जब कोविड फेज के बाद से मुझे लगा कि अब इस चीज की आवश्यकता पड़ गई है और इसकी नितांत आवश्यकता है और ये अप्लीकेबल अब 100% तो होनी ही है. तो हमने हमारे ऑनरेबल चेयरमैन सर श्री अनिल खरिया जी का मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं कि वो ऐसे वंडरफुल इनिशिएटिव्स के लिए हमेशा प्रमोट करते रहते हैं. व्यक्तिगत रूप से इसमें वो इंटरेस्ट लेते हैं कि ऐसी चीजें जो है जन जन तक पहुंचाया जाए. तो मैं उनके लिए भी धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करता हूं. मैं उन सभी ऑडियंस को और जो भी प्रिंसिपल्स डिफरेंट कॉलेजेस के, प्रोफेसर्स डिफरेंट कॉलेजेस के थ्रू आउट द कंट्री, इस समय मैं देख रहा हूँ कि हमारे पास 150 के आसपास लोग रहे हैं. बीच में 150 भी गए थे, 120 तक पहुंचे हैं अभी. तो इतने लोग जो सभी देख रहे हैं, सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस को मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ. मॉडर्न ग्रुप ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन की ओर से एक बार पुनः आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इस एनलाइटनिंग सेशन को सुनने के लिए. और श्री अजय चतुर्वेदी जी का मैं हृदय से आभारी हूँ. और आगे भी हम सर का मार्गदर्शन लेते रहेंगे. और जल्दी जो लॉकडाउन खत्म होता है और ये समस्याएं सॉल्व होती है तो सर को इंदौर बुलाएंगे और उनको फिजिकली सामने देखेंगे और सर से इंटरेक्ट करेंगे और बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन करेंगे. थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर द वंडरफुल सेशन. थैंक यू एवरीवन.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Salam.
Thank you all the participants to participate in this webinar. Please fill the question feedback form after the session and write the feedback, and you will receive the e-certificate within 7 days from your webinar date, and you will get it on your registered mail ID. Thank you so much.